Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Awakenings Moments to Inspire. Brand new intro by John Stacey. Hope you enjoyed. Just took up the saxophone at COVID, folks. COVID got him to start playing the saxophone, much to my joy. Let me tell you. That was my husband, folks. That was my husband. Welcome to Awakenings.
Wonderful. Please tell him thank you for us. We love that because, we are all creators.
Oh, exactly.
And it's no better time than today to decide I choose to create. So
Exactly. So everybody, we are broadcasting live at Oneness Talk Radio, YouTube, Oneness Talk Radio, Facebook, and onenesstalkradio.com. And I am Angela, or Angel with an A, and this beautiful angel with me is
Sarah Hazel Evans.
And we are absolutely delighted to be with you here today. Energies, Sarah, energies. You want to put us all together maybe with some Ave Sa breath and just get us into this beautiful container of awakenings, moments to inspire, and then we can move forward from there.
Yes, let's do that. Let's recognize the divine that we are, and the divine that is present in all ways. So the hands to our heart. We're going to call in the Ave Sa and release with an audible saw and a smile. So we'll do 3 of these, calling in Ave, smile, calling in Ave on the in-breath. And the last one, to really be present, call in the Ave. Release with a Sa. And smile. Feeling into that space.
Beautiful. Wow. It has been a challenging morning, folks, around here. We'll dive into that in a little bit. But the main reason I came on today, unknowingly, because there were so many hiccups this morning, we weren't even sure we were going to be here today. But one of the main reasons I wanted to make sure that I at least got on for a little bit was to talk to you about the ascended numerology for today, because it is 12. It is the 12, the highest number in ascended numerology. It is basically your soul and your mind and your body have all finally figured out where they need to be and where they need to go. It is like the union of your divine soul and your vessel. It is the sense of completion of who you are. And that really speaks and rings true for me. So think about your ego just finally saying, I'm good. And then your soul is trying to come in and take over and move your limbs for you and inspire your divine action, that inspired action that we all have. But your body is maybe resisting today. And you maybe have a little bit of difficulty, because you wouldn't be the only one for sure. Just let it go. Let go and relax. Allow your soul and your body to meet and mingle and be one with it. Love your body as it does this integration today. Come up, aches, pains, feelings of anxiety, or old habits you suddenly find yourself being drawn into, like that incessant chatter that you might have going off in your head that you haven't necessarily heard in a long time. Just you might all of a sudden pop out saying, I'm tired, for example, but you're not really. But it was an old habit of back when you were in that density mindset that you felt heavy. Well, that's just those old habits coming back that you're beginning to experience that heaviness in your body, but all it is it's a reflex mechanism, I think, of your soul, of your body, um, not knowing what to do and kind of being out of control. So be gentle with it. It's going through this experience. It is integrating with your soul and with your heart's purpose. And it's going to take a little bit of time. So just love it. Be with water. That's what I did today. I hopped right in my shower and I was with water.
Mm.
Drink as much water as you can. Maybe have a foot bath. If you have chance tonight, get the candles out and get the citrus slices and the rose petals and the aromatherapy going and just treat yourself, treat your body. Let go of your mind, let go of your ego, and treat your body with as much love as you possibly can, because that is where you're at, is that divine union into oneness right now. And once you make that divine union into oneness, you get to be, and this is what came forward for me, and this is what I think we're going to dive into, is being allowed. That's what came forward for me this morning. Full force was, I'm allowed. I don't need permission.
Well, and what I'm
And
hearing while you're speaking, and here's this is the beautiful truth, is that we are always divinely one. We are. And so, every day, every moment, that is a truth for me. And I know originally we were going to talk about
mhm,
uh, truth. We talked about doing truth, the belief, the knowings, and the truth in light of rebirth and how important that is. And
mhm,
so I think that's an important thing for me. I feel called to reflect on that. But I will say that I think being in the space of allowance for the day
mhm,
is such a beautiful gift in itself. And for that to really be where we're championing the conversation right now, I think is so, so important. And it's so perfect. And I almost just wanted to tear up with you talking about the energy of the 12, because it feels like the thing that came out to me was gentle.
mhm.
Be gentle.
Yeah.
And how that is such a powerful, powerful mantra. Be
Mhm,
gentle. Be gentle. And this morning when I woke up, and I told you this earlier, I felt sad. Like even before I opened my eyes, I just felt sad.
mhm,
And it's like, why? I like no reason. Like,
mhm,
and which I think is a beautiful part of the season right now, just because there is that energy of going into the rebirth of things and figuring that out. And but but even the aches and like what you said, and the mind, when you start to feel something, when you're feeling something and it's just that deep where your emotions are going into it, and then your body's feeling a certain way, it's amazing how immediately your mind jumps in, and your
mhm.
mind wants to start dictating and talking and taking control, or telling you where control needs to be, and all of that stuff. And the 12, and just seeing it as this beautiful gift of union,
Yeah.
and remembering to be gentle and to go with the allowance, um, for myself. Yeah. And I just want to say there's nothing serious going on here. It's just
No.
life in the journey.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
today is just as beautiful as yesterday, and tomorrow will be just as beautiful. It's like just enjoy. Nothing going on here, nothing serious. Just enjoy it.
Yes, that's exactly. In fact, I commented to you this morning, even though there were so many, I call it my Murphy days. So, if something is going to throw a curveball in, it's on a Murphy day. So, but I was laughing at it because it was just seemed to be one thing after another thing after another thing, and I was just in awe of being able to see it. I was in awe of being able to understand what was going on physically when I literally started feeling anxiety rise up in me. And and I was literally standing in the middle of my kitchen giggling this morning, and I thought to myself, "I'm glad no one can see me right now because I probably look a little weird and a little crazy." But yeah, I was just standing there giggling to myself at the hilarity of all of I don't want to call them missteps or discourses or anything like that. They're just life, like you were saying, it just
Life, just
happens.
life, just
And when you
life.
get to have that giggle about yourself and know that, it's very freeing. So the mind let go very easily this morning as I stood in my kitchen giggling. The body, on the other hand, has had a little challenge today. So it's been, like I said, lots of baths, lots of water, and just being very gentle with myself. And it always comes in threes. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh,
It does for
yes,
me.
yes. Well, and then you've got the new moon going on this week
That's
too,
true.
and
Energy.
and you know, I catch myself talking about the energies, and it's like, oh, and the thing is there's always energies going on. And, just like there's always, I mean, all of this stuff, and I feel that sometimes um, in the being consciously aware of my spiritual path,
Yeah.
that there's a lot of times that I'm looking at things like, oh, like you have to keep going through it, like,
Mhm.
oh, like go through this. And again, I'm coming to a place, I've done this before, where it's really having a heart to heart with myself. That's, you know what? It's just like, blaming things on the Mercury retrograde. It's like the retrograde happens,
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like new moons happen. And these days, a 12, a day where, it's like, what a gift though that we have of energies, period. Just the energies going on, and the fact that we can tap into them. The fact, and I'm off, like, when, and we've talked about how we do these rampages, and a
Mhm.
lot of times when I'm doing a self rampage, I'm just doing it to myself. I am so happy that I am of conscious awareness,
Yes.
that I haven't, that to me, that clicks in my brain, and that it is of interest to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know sometimes when I'm talking to other people, that glazed look over their eye, like, if they even understand what I'm talking about, and then I'm like, "Well, wait a second." But I am so happy
Yeah.
that I have that, and what a great navigational tool.
Oh, immensely. I get a lot of that too, where I get the glazed over look. But I find, the more you express yourself, or at least it has been, in my case, the more I express myself and who I am and stand in the confidence of who I am, all of the relationships eventually figure themselves out.
Yeah,
Because I'm being loving to myself, the situation, and to everyone else that might be in it. And I've really, this new moon about birthing and letting go, I've really seen my relationships. I've had other occurrences, and things happening within the family dynamic, but I really was able to see I guess, the highest in all of the relationships and my relationship to those relationships. And it's been, yeah, rebirth, renew. Things are always changing, folks. Paradigms are always shifting.
Always.
And some of them are major shifts, and some of them are itty bitty little baby shifts. But if you stay in your center, it doesn't matter if it's tiny or big, you can see and do and be that inspired. It's about in being in the inspired action during those shifts. When big major paradigm shifts come and changes happen, what is that saying? When the shift happens, like when the shit happens, it's when the shift happens. Oh, see, I'm now having cats that are having problems here. Wait, you two, go. Shoo. So when the shifts will happen and issues will occur, Thor, what are you doing, you silly boy? Boy. But it's about caring, like seeing them for what they are and knowing who you, because you have the confidence and that you're tapped into your oneness and your higher self, you're able to kind of see the pathways before you and navigate when you get into those um higher shifts that and changes. That was my experience just very recently, where it was major paradigm shift, and I had to learn to navigate this new territory and new relationships now with family members, as and I found it very helpful, but also very rewarding, and I was still filled with appreciation and gratitude because I was able to navigate this stuff without getting bogged down into the old habits of the pain.
Right.
And so, anything coming up for you? I'm still trying to get
Well,
over cats.
I'm just, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I know that we decided to kind of take a little bit more of a very fluid approach to today's conversation or topic of where we were going. Um, and I'm what you were saying first and foremost, the reminder again, and it's such a you hear it over and over and over, but the gratitude and the appreciation and the power of that alone. Keep saying power today, but I think it's a very powerful day. And it's a powerful day to be um, in the energy of those things that we just know to be true,
Mhm.
you know, and so, that gentleness and the ease and the flow of that, listening to ourselves, listening to what we need, and the things um, that our body needs,
Yeah,
and allowing that conversation to come forward and come through from our soul,
yeah,
allowing that to be the support and noticing the support that's naturally there. And I've noticed that with today too, is that I've kind of fallen into this space of hearing, the letting go, the allowing, and so forth. um, Finding this beautiful flow with my day. Just like with you, it's like all these hiccups that are going on. And it's like, for anybody out there that's listening, and it's with any day, with any day, really, when you decide to step out of the way. And I think that that's for myself this week. I've kept being reminded, with being frustrated by things and annoyed by things and
yep,
letting go of the control,
yep,
the feeling the need to control. And I think that that happens a lot when there are new things that come in. You and I were sharing this morning about how, it was like, or was it, I think it was this morning, about opportunities and not letting things get past us,
yeah,
timing of things. And I feel that that's something that happens with, um, when we do rebirth. when we do have new things that come up, it's like, like a new year, like, oh my gosh, that's it. We got to do all this stuff because, I want to get a hold of that energy and I
Yeah.
want to take that energy and ride that energy. And, in some ways too, on a day like a 12, it's like, oh my gosh, I have this union going on. My body's talking whatever, and we get caught up in that. But there's also this surge that happens like, all right, how am I going to harness this? How
Yeah.
am I going to make this be everything that it can possibly be to the highest good
Yeah.
without falling into that trust? But all the highest good is always there. Is your focused awareness on it? Is your focused awareness on it? And that's when we let go and we find the appreciation and we choose to be gentle, that I find it allows me to, just really be in that space.
Mm, mm, nice. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say hi to Holly, Holy Spirit, me, and Denise.
Yes.
And it's Denise's 60th cycle around the sun. So
Oh, Denise. I love that.
excellent.
Oh
Happy
my gosh.
birthday. Body
Yes.
needs a lot of comfort and almost remember how to relax. Yeah, you almost remember. So I like that. Um,
We're
I
sending
would-
you relaxing vibes and
exactly.
celebrating you too.
I think we all need relaxing vibes today, just
Yeah.
so that we can integrate even better. Um, what came forward to me this morning too, and it had to do with allowing and permission and feeling into that. I was just listening to somebody talking about land allowances. So legal land allowances. It's a term used in the legal circles when you're doing real estate. But what actually came to my head, what came to my mind was money allowance that our parents give us. And what really came forward to me was that we have at a young age been taught to have an authority figure grant us permission to do work for them in order to get money. Do you know what I mean? Like we're being told that we do A, B, C, D, and E by somebody of higher authority. And for doing that, we're given an allowance. And it's almost been like society's been holding its breath and asking for permission ever since. And it I really felt into the age of this allowance and it really actually is very tied to the male energy and the male half of myself. Um, and it's almost like our energy, and particularly our energy of doing, has been harnessed because we're needing permission in order to do. I don't know if I'm coming across quite correctly, but it's like our male energy of doing and moving forward has had this little collar put around it to say, yes, good boy, you have permission to do this. At least in my essence and my the way I was feeling about it. I don't know if that resonates with you or if anything's coming up with you
It
for that.
does. I mean, and for myself, I noticed, I mean, as me personally,
Mhm,
um, I feel that a lot of like right now, like I was telling you, my neck was hurting and whatever, and it being on my right side, which is interesting, but just because of the feminine energy aspect of the right.
mhm,
Um, and then, just the idea of, you saying the male energy and all of that. And it's like sometimes I think it's about asking what the feminine side of us needs.
mhm,
What does it need from the male side? What does it need to be whole? but also asking our male side what it needs too, you know, to have those two parts working together to create balance within our body,
Yeah.
but also in our spirit, and just that. Um, yeah, and that's kind of what came up for me is, how often do I speak to that part of me?
Mhm.
What is the feminine side of me needing? What is the masculine side of me needing?
Yeah.
Where am I bringing in allowance? How am I asking for permission or expecting permission? And
Yeah.
and there is that part of me too that I think that you know as a child, as a young child, you're so used to asking for permission. There's a security there.
Yep.
There's something there that just says, okay, the space is safe because I don't need to worry about, you know, A, B, C, or D.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
handled by this. I'll just ask permission and then I'll just go off and not have to think twice about anything. But we do grow up and we do grow older and our spirit, starts to come through stronger. And I just I'm now I'm kind of wondering, like, how is that? Because there's that rebel that comes out.
Yep.
I don't want to have to ask for permission.
Mhm.
I don't want to have to ask for permission.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there's a seed being planted here in that, is like, okay, taking ownership,
Mhm.
taking ownership of that, of evolving, of becoming, of who I am. And if I'm standing up in that confidence of hey, I've claimed this now. I've taken the training wheels off. I've grown up. I've
Mhm.
been able to say, all right, am I walking the walk?
Yeah.
You know, how am I just going to allow it and be it and step into it without contradicting myself by also feeling like I need to ask for permission.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. The only one that you need to ask for permission in is yourself and, um, your heart, I think, would be probably your general rule. But even then, you don't really it's just go, live your life. It's like it's the same thing as the changes will happen, life will happen, and it's about kind of embracing it and then not carrying those pieces of baggage around with you. That you're allowed to drop them, that you're
Yeah.
allowed to say, "Okay, I know I have a meeting at, say, 3 o'clock today, but I have this, 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 and this I'm gonna worry about. So I'm pretty prepared for my meeting. I'm gonna trust that I know that all is going to be in divine, perfect order, and I'm going to allow myself to not worry about that, and I'm gonna let it go."
Yeah.
And even something as simple as that task back 6 years ago for me would have been almost impossible. Something came to me right when I was saying that. You were talking about the rebel, right? And because you wanna be allowed, you don't need to you don't wanna have to ask for permission. And for many of us, especially many in the spiritual community, I think we are a little rebellious under the surface because for many of us, we keep those, spiritual tendencies and our love of spirituality and our talents for energy healing and energy work and that kind of thing. We tend to keep that very closed off and away and private, almost like we feel like we need to ask for permission to put that out there. And then when we go and express it to our family or friends, you always have this little feeling in the back of yourself, oh, should I have done that? Oh, 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 oh.
But what just came to mind to me
Mhm.
is we've talked before about how a lot of these things are kind of, like the layer on the onion
Mhm.
and that type of a thing. We just or the threading of a rope, right? And you go through and sometimes I feel, and perfect again for a day of 12, is that sometimes, we get to that new level of consciousness. Like, um, it's like to be able to attain something, you have to be able to see it. You have to be able to visualize it. You have to consciously open yourself up to it. So as we grow,
Mhm.
as we evolve, is what we naturally do. And if
Yes.
we're doing it consciously and we're trying to evolve, consciously to be more evolved, right? We're
Yep.
constantly undoing that twine, peeling off that. And we do. It is something to be gentle again with ourselves, because we can come to a place where all of a sudden there might be a new level of permission that we haven't tapped into yet. That
Mhm.
new level of confidence. You might have shown yourself a certain way to your family, but all of a sudden there's something new within you that you're evolving in,
Mhm.
that you can come and say something, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, why am I feeling this again?
Yeah.
Why am I here again? Like, I feel like, or even just waking up in a day and you're like, wow, I feel some constriction there.
Yeah.
And it's that beauty of knowing that, okay, you know, maybe it is something as far as, I think sometimes I think that we do overthink things and we do try to put things, which is not bad because it's the way that we are as
Yes.
humans.
Mhm.
But, that whatever we need to do to let go
Mhm.
and come into that new level of beingness. And I agree, Holy Spirit in me, be yourself and know that we are God. I mean, holding those truth. And Denise, I love it. Feeling confident, becoming naturally more and more a part of who I am. I mean, to wake up every day and
Mhm.
be in that space, in that energy, you know, 15, 20 years ago, no clue of what it was like,
Yeah.
like, you just woke up and poured your cereal and grabbed your shoes and your purse and ran out the door and did your work
Exactly.
thing or whatever, and, um,
Came
you
home,
just came
dropped everything,
home and yeah, yeah,
got up the next day and did it all over
did
again.
it all over again.
Yep.
Turn on
Yeah.
some music, dance, but, you know
And some of us, here's the catcher though, some of us still may be doing those things, but we've allowed ourselves to look around and actually see what life is about
Mhm.
while we're doing those things.
Yeah,
That we've slowed our brains down. We've quieted everything, and we've looking around and actually hearing the birds sing, where
yeah,
before it would have been completely, you wouldn't even have had the brain space for it.
yeah,
Um, and that's what I absolutely adore is when people start was once they start kind of waking up and they have those shifts and they're like, was the sky always this blue? Were the birds always this sweet? Were you always this nice? Stuff like start happening. It's just a joy to watching people give themselves permission to just express themselves. It
yeah.
is an absolute joy, and I've been witness to it a few times this week, and it's been fun. It's also raised a few eyebrows too, like where you're saying back in the spirituality end of things, where I love yous got said to people and with people that would normally have never done that before, and it was a bit of an eye raiser and an eye opener for the people around, and I was just going, I'm so happy.
It's kinda like that Christmas energy. It's like, why do we only do this in December? It's like, why do we only do this when when we're faced with something that is,
The
tragic or sad or whatever. It's like, how do we just end up being? How do
yeah,
we just end up being?
exactly. Exactly. And it truly I've mentioned this when I first started this channel, what the purpose was to really talk to people about their experiences of what I initially called the click, which and I still do call the click, where you have that click moment where you were one thing before and you're a different thing after. And usually those clicks are things like major life occurrences, deaths, sicknesses, robberies, whatever, the whole, those serious, sudden, unexpected things that cause you to go change your life perspective almost instantly. But I'm beginning to see the joy of the slow walk to understanding because I experienced a click and it opens your world very quickly. But then you almost have to catch up with the openness. It's almost like you have to and that maybe leans into what we were wanting to talk about, which is that believing versus knowing. You always have those beliefs, you always have that, but it's that knowing. And so when I had the click and I had that sense of knowing, but actually, I didn't have a whole lot of the belief system behind the knowing. I was like, okay, I'm understanding this. It was almost, I had almost something similar in deep, deep meditation to a near death experience or a really deep, like an ayahuasca trip. And I had spent my entire year or so trying to figure out what it was that I had even experienced. So having that first click, um, it it drove me onto my spiritual journey. But I've met people who have had this nice slow bubbly burn of understanding underneath them. And I really see the joy and the inspiration of that because um, they've just stuck true to themselves on that slow, bubbly burn. Forward is forward, no matter how slow. Where I was frantically trying to catch up. So everything always seemed like a race for me. And I've now reached a level of that knowing and that understanding that now matched the click and the knowing are now together in one and oh perfect 12. And I no longer necessarily have the anxieties and things that I would normally have and the need to catch up. So if I just want to give a new appreciation for that slow. If you're a slow, bubbly, burn spiritual person, hats off to you because you rode the wave through the whole thing for your entire life and kept who you are and gave yourself permission every morning when you woke up and just kept on the journey. And for those of you who just keep coming back around to the onion layer, keep going because you're doing it. You came back around, you saw the layer, peel it off, and go in and take the next step. We
That's
all deserve it.
that's that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. I would definitely say that um, I don't think I ever had a click. I don't think I ever had a click. I don't think I ever had a click. I was probably a slow bubble type of a thing, but
Mhm.
what I did have where I had a moment of permission. I
Yes.
never thought about that until this conversation. But I finally had a moment where it was like, "Oh, that's what's been going on with me.
Mhm.
I have permission. I have permission to fully be that person." And I think I spoke about this when I first came and did the show with you. And it was I remember my son was getting ready to go to college, and it was the spring before,
Mhm.
and I thought, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do when he goes away to school?" And I was with my now husband. We never lived together.
Mhm.
And I didn't mix my home with my son with
Mhm.
him, and we've been together several years at that point, dating.
Mhm.
And but I just knew, I'm like, I'm going to miss my son. He was my psychic. He goes off to college. Oh my gosh, home isn't going to feel the same. What am I going to do? And I was familiar with Abraham Hicks, but hadn't really gone down that rabbit hole too much. But I had a friend who had made a comment to me not too long before that, who was talking about the going downstream analogy
Mhm.
that Abraham will speak about.
Mhm.
And so I was getting ready for work one morning, and I put on an Abraham Hicks thing. And as I was getting ready for work, and her talking about joy and about emotions, and
Mhm.
how we're meant to experience joy, that is our birthright, like joy, joy, joy as our opening song. And I'm like, whoa. Like, okay, always feeling like I didn't have the ability to, it's like feeling a little bit shunned sometimes, because I was always, what's the positive spin on whatever.
Mhm.
And it was like, wait a second, that is who I am. I have permission to be that.
Yeah.
No holding back.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that's when I realized, no, that's where, and I had been on my spiritual journey up until then. Of course, like everybody, but I mean, like, aware of being
Mhm.
on it, wanting to be on it. But that's when it really, like, okay, that's what I'm trying to harness. So
There's our beautiful Gary. Namaste,
yay,
Gary. We are roses
namaste.
unfold, one petal at a time. All my love. Oh, you too, Gary.
Absolutely.
Our love to you and Lynn.
Yes.
Mwah.
Mwah. We
Oh,
are beautiful garden.
yes, we are an absolute beautiful garden. I've completely forgot what I was going to talk about after I was lost it, but it'll come back around, I'm sure, eventually. um, Hi, puppy dogs everywhere. That's one thing there. That is
Did it come back around? I was
no.
just gonna
I
say,
got it. You got something else. Go ahead. But I was just thinking about um, just being in the moment. I think, and allowing takes being in the moment. I would think, because you have to be aware of what you're doing, so that you know that you're making the choices, either A, to give yourself permission, or to let it go.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
I don't
I
want
think
permission.
I think you just, I mean, we could have a topic right there. Maybe we should turn back the clock and go back to allowing, and being aware, the awareness being, because how can, I mean, to fully being in a place where you can allow the highest of what's good, I mean, to be present.
Mhm.
I think that's, yeah. Because if you're not present, then what your focus is, either in the past or it's still yet to come.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And animals like this one right here, slobbering all over my leg, is exactly they look to your pets, folks. When you're down or having trouble, that's always a good source of allowing, because they just really do allow. For example, my poor baby is going through a bit of an ear problem, but she's still the sweetest, most gentlest animal I've ever owned. And she just allows life to go on around her, and she loves everybody and everything. And I don't think I've met a more, well, I shouldn't say that. She does have her stubborn streak, so maybe I will take that back. Yeah, I have probably met more allowing creatures on the planet. But she's a sweet soul that just takes life as it comes, and I'm thankful for her and for all of the animals that they just teach us. And That's my also my go-to thing when I want to be happy is just put on puppy videos or kitty videos, because they can just make you smile as well. Find the things that make you smile, folks. Find the things that help you rise up so that you're aware that you are free. You have the freedom and the choices around you, and that you don't need to ask for permission in order to live your life. You have permission to smell the flowers and to listen to the birds and to admire the clouds.
And then, and on any day where you feel like you're on the struggle bus a little bit, when you feel like, and when, and today with the union aspect of things and things trying to come together and create that union, it's just like with two people, they start coming together. Sometimes there can be a little bit of like, whoa, how does this fit together?
Yeah.
And and that's the thing. It's to find something that can give you mental or emotional rest for just a moment. If it means closing your eyes and, doing a practice that brings you that peace. If you're feeling it emotionally, it brings you that emotional peace or that mental peace.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, something where you just can't do that,
Mm-hmm.
then turn your focus somewhere. Allow one of your other senses, your sense of hearing or touch or whatever, and put your focus there. If it means, yeah, just whatever it is that can be like, okay, and turning back into that energy. And it's not just going there, but then to also bring your awareness there. Like,
Yes.
oh, that feels good.
Yes.
That brings me joy.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me happiness. And bringing the awareness to, whoa, okay, I feel a little bit fuller right now. I
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit more complete right now. I feel that balance right now. Because again, where you bring your awareness to, you're right there. You're solidifying it. You're
Yep.
giving it, you're giving it acknowledgement and claiming it, and it now holds more power.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Exactly. And that goes back into the 12 and the integration with your body today is be gentle with it, understand it, love it. But you're going to have I was speaking to my son about this morning and about how and I've used this analogy a couple times where we clean our slate off. So we have those moments of surrender, of allowance for ourselves, and we wipe our slate clean. And we're like, okay, we have the moment where we can choose differently. We have the moment where we've now given ourselves permission to choose differently because we've wiped our slate clean or our whiteboard or whatever analogy you want to use. But then the trick is making sure you don't go back and rewrite
yeah.
what you just rubbed off of your slate. It's about letting that completely go. And you have the choice to pick something different and write it on your slate. And that is now where you're going and who you are.
Well, and I'm going to go back to this because all of a sudden you said that. And I know we're getting down to the end of the wire here.
Oh, yes.
So it's like, okay, and in the energy of how I always try to spin things in a positive light, having that clean slate, there is a little piece of me that I want to go, oh my gosh, but I want to do it right.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is falling back into the truth and the knowing that I have that it is always right. And it's
Yeah.
also celebrating who I know I am. And that goes back to knowing that I am bringing conscious awareness and like asking myself, how can I bring conscious awareness to my day?
Yeah.
Even if it's at the end of the day to reflect on it or at this
Mhm.
moment, and knowing that, you know, I celebrate me, I honor
Mhm.
me, and I trust me, and I trust how this works. I trust these laws. I trust the universe. I trust what I know to be true. And that is that in that space that I am changing with each moment, being able to have that conscious action. So, that helps me go, "Phew, all right, clean slate. I'm creating anew." I'm always doing it. I am always, always in that path of progression and evolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And the one thing you had spoken to about evolution earlier today, and when we were talking, you had mentioned it later on, but remember to evolve though, folks. You have to let go of the old stuff, which is again wiping your slate clean. So evolution is not just about moving forward and taking the new paradigm. It's about healing the old paradigm and letting it go. It's about seeing and acknowledging it. And this goes back again to the 12 and having the experience of today with your body. See it, acknowledge it. It's having its pains and its issues and its feelings for a reason. And it's what I think we're getting back around, but now we're running out of time. We're getting back around to what I was talking about before. Um, through navigating the inner matrix, um, I used to have trouble experiencing and giving myself permission to experience joy.
yeah.
And it I think we just need to remember that we can fill ourselves with love and as much joy as possible and then radiate that out into the rest of the world, and it changes your life too. So if you hold that energy and ride the stream and stay in your flow, you become aware of where you're maybe not letting go, and you can let that go. Like my block of joy, my need to release my fear of having joy in my life or even being able to express joy in my life. And I'm not talking about, being lively at a party or anything like that. I mean, walking out your front door and experiencing joy at everything and knowing and understanding that you are one with all of that. That was
Yeah.
a real challenge for me. I
That's
had to
challenging.
allow myself to really feel into that and allow myself to experience that.
See, and
Um,
I used to, I took a, oh, I should know her name. Um, she was an older New Age, Mary. If somebody knows it, please put it
put
down in there.
comments.
I know that when it comes to the old New Age circle of people, Ernest Holmes and all of them, uh,
Mhm.
she used to go outside and she used to pull money off of her trees and put them in her pockets. And I remember there's a gentleman on YouTube, Jacob Glass, and he would told the story, I think, and that her husband was like, "Oh my gosh, the neighbors are gonna think you are crazy." And so he wanted to put a fence up around the yard or whatever. And but that's what she would, and she was, like I said, very well known. Gosh, now I'll remember her name. I will. Anyway. And but so I had heard that and it made me want to go outside and like going to work, and I wasn't always feeling like I wanted to go to work. And I was like, okay, and I would think of that, and I would think of Esther Hicks always saying, "You're my favorite tree, and you're my favorite tree." And I would literally step outside every morning and I would be like, "I love you. You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You're my favorite." And I would be hugging trees and I'd be picking money off. And, and that's the thing. I probably looked ridiculous, but I was laughing with myself at it all.
Exactly.
And it allowed me to be present, to see the things for what they were, beautiful things that were in front of me, that were God given in front of me. And every day they were there. And I'd get in the car and I would feel that relief.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yeah, everybody has their own expressions of joy, that put them in that state. And for me, it definitely is a giggle, and it definitely is a smile. And those are two things that I can do anywhere, you know, and even by myself. So
Yep. I think Gary was saying something nice about women.
you are godsend, Gary. Yes.
Thanks, Gary.
Celebrate,
Uh,
celebrate. I love you
I
too.
would just like to celebrate us right here and right now today, um, because we did it. We did a show today. And I think that in and of itself is a celebration. And I hope that our coming on today really lifted your spirits and helped you out and maybe allowed you to allow a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, and we would love to hear from you guys, and feedback on it, and things that, maybe food for thought that came through for you as you were, hearing the conversation. And we love each one of you that have showed up in the chat: Denise, Gary, Patricia, Holy Spirit, and me. We love you guys. And anybody who's going to tap into this later, much love to all of you.
Yes, much love. We thank you all for joining in, and we will see you again next week, where I believe we're going to have, for a short period of time in the show, we're going to have a special guest pop by for a little while.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for you to meet her. She's going to be fabulous. I was talking with her last night, and I had so many beautiful creations and birthing out of that, just that conversation. So cherish that. You never know what's going to come out of conversations and interactions with people. So go out there and explore yourself and explore
Yeah.
your relationships with other people and have some fun today for sure. And love
And
your
know
body.
that and know that you're contributing
Ex-
always to the
Exactly.
collective. So, yeah.
Much love, all of you. We'll see you next week.